You're listening to the Intercoastal Podcast, part of the Destination Marketing Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Intercoastal Podcast, where we explore the people, places, and stories that make Beaufort, Port Royal, and the Sea Islands so special. I'm your host, Daquan Mickens, and today's episode is a little different in the best way. We're kicking off our brand new season of the podcast, and with that comes a new format, new conversations, and renewed focus on how we tell the stories of the community. To walk us through this, what's changing, where we were going, and how it's changing, and the listeners can expect moving forward, I'm joined with President and CEO Robb Wells of Visit Beaufort. Welcome to the show, Rob.
No, thanks, Daquan, for allowing me to come on here and have a conversation with you as we kick off a new season of the Intercoastal Podcast. What a cool adventure we've been on with this. It's showcasing all that makes Beaufort, Port Royal, and Sea Islands great. The format, I'm looking forward to it and how we incorporate it and just telling the stories that make this place magical.
Yeah, and we've seen so many different iterations of the podcast from beginning to end. I think I was joined episode 3, so I'm practically here for the beginning. And you were on the first episode and through the process and the planning of the Intercoastal Podcast. Before we kind of go through the questions, how has that grown? Have you seen that grow?
Well, I think, the vision of the Intercoastal Podcast was just to have a platform to kind of tell the stories. And it's changed, right? It's changed over the years. You've done a great job of allowing people and our partners and just, people we do life and business with here in the area, our friends and neighbors. You've been able to let them tell the story and help us tell the story of this part of the Low Country. And then from a listener perspective, they've gotten to hear about it. And we hope through the new format, they also get a little bit more of a personal touch of the people who, the faces behind these stories.
Yeah. It's always good to see who's actually talking, because it's easy to kind of just imagine and think about that. But then when you actually see the people behind the closed doors of the owners,
absolutely
chefs, the people running the tours, before you get to Beaufort, is definitely a different aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it goes back to that was story that we tell early on, right?
Yeah.
You were in the visitor center helping us cover, working with him, pretty busy, and somebody heard you respond. They're like, "Hey, you're on the podcast."
Yeah.
Well, now they're going to recognize you when they first walk in the door, right? They're going to be like, I know Daquan from the podcast.
Gotta help that.
So that's a good part of it. But we're excited about what goes forward.
Yeah. So for folks who's been listening to the podcast for a while now, what sparked the decision to rethink in the format and start a new season?
Well, it gives us a little bit more flexibility in sharing and showing what makes the place special. And so you hear the stories of whether it's the history or just some of the cultural aspect. And now we have the ability to infuse, kind of the scenes, you get to see it before you show. Or we do have a lot of people who are new to the area, and they may view the podcast now. Also, our YouTube channels and our social media platforms, we've been showcasing the podcast from an audio standpoint. Now we're going to put the visuals with it, and this is a good opportunity to showcase Beaufort, Port Royal, and the Sea Islands.
Yeah, and for me, I kind of think when you see podcasts now, or you hear podcasts, it's hard to find podcasts without visuals.
Absolutely.
Everybody's moving towards visuals. Everyone's moving towards YouTube or any other ways to, even Spotify. When you listen to podcasts, there's a video aspect and element to it now. So everything's kind of moving that direction. And like you said, it makes it easier to share.
Yeah, and this is not just a Visit Beaufort, Port Royal, and Sea Islands team decision, right? This is something that we hear back from our stakeholders, our partners, but also our listeners and people who are on social media or wherever they're consuming the information. We're just saying, hey, we'd love to see something along with it. So we kind of put a visual with what you guys are talking about or with the podcast. And so I think that's a great idea as we move forward.
Yeah, I agree. So when you look at the old format, what's working really well? Where did you see the opportunities to grow and go deeper?
It's definitely the storytelling, Daquan. The way that you get the folks to talk about their particular, it says their business or their festival and event or, the history of the area. I love the most recent episodes that have been out with the Revolutionary War stuff that's come out there, just because it's the facet that you don't really think about here in the area, but having Dr. Rowland on and Mr. McCardle on, just being able to do that. Well, now we're going to bring some of those to life, right? You're going to be able to show Old Sheldon Church, right? Show the visuals behind that, but you also get to see the people behind it. I think of the Gullah Geechee corridors help with us telling the Gullah story. Now you're going to get to see the visuals, and whether it's Aunt Pearlie Sue talking about the Gullah kinfolk, or something as simple as one of our festivals talking about the event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as from a visitor standpoint, it actually, like, it already breathes life into it, just discussing it and talking about it. But now you get to actually see it, and now you're like, oh, now I got to go see that. That looks amazing.
Absolutely.
It gives that extra, oh yeah, I really have to do this.
I agree with you. Yeah.
So what's the biggest difference listeners will notice right away with the new season?
Well, the setup's going to be one, right? They're going to see us now as we talk through it. Two, I think is the platform in which they consume the podcast. So you're going to be able to listen to it in the same format that you still do. But our goal is to kind of showcase through this platform. We get to tell the story the way we want to tell the story, and our guests get to be a part of that. Yeah, that's what makes the podcast pretty awesome. Yeah, is that the Intercoastal Podcast is not just you or I or Megan or Caroline on the team telling the story. It's the people who sit on this side of the table and interview and tell their story. It's always been about that. It's always been about our friends and neighbors telling the story about this beautiful low country place and the authenticity behind it. And we hope to continue doing that through the new format.
Yeah, and people don't realize that's what makes the podcast the stakeholders, the people of the community telling, how they got to Beaufort, why they love Beaufort, and it makes it feel more just than just a regular Intercoastal podcast. It's literally everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So how does the new format better reflect where Beaufort, Port Royal, and Sea Islands are heading and where the community is right now?
Well, I think it gives us a little bit more up to the minute. Like we can talk about the history, but we can show it in the current state, right? So you get a current visual. But here's the thing: is like Beaufort, Port Royal, and the Sea Islands, by nature, by the actual nature of their being, is a beautiful landscape. Yes, right. It's a beautiful place. We want to show it. We don't just want to talk about it, which we have for 136 episodes, now on our 137th, but we want to showcase that. And this format allows us to show it. And I think once you see the natural beauty and the aesthetics, and you get to you could see the Kazoo Factory, you can see Sheldon Church, or the Chapel Bees ruins, or Waterfront Park, or the Port Royal Sands Beach in the boardwalk, or you can see Hunting Island, right? You're going to see these things in the flesh before you come and visit. And if you're a regular visitor and you're a repeat visitor and you come a lot, you're going to recognize these places as your favorite place to dine, your favorite place to go.
And that's kind of the different aspect of, the video. When you come to Beaufort, a lot of times you hear, oh, I fell in love with Beaufort as soon as I walked in, or as soon as I stepped foot in the town. Well, now you can help people transition into that fall in love aspect. You're seeing it beforehand, so you kind of see the dolphins. And anytime I say I see dolphins, or we're looking off at the tower, at the sands, and you can see the dolphins playing in the water, it's breathtaking every time. So it doesn't matter how many times you see it. That kind of gives you that aspect of, oh, now I know what to expect, and you're still going to be breathtaking when you get here.
Absolutely. I think those are the aspects, and it just gives us a little bit more flexibility to show some of those things out there as we incorporate it, right? You're exactly right. Not everybody gets to wake up and see dolphins jumping in and out of the water, right? That's something we get to see on a drive to work. And so I just think it's a good opportunity for us to continue that showcasing.
Yeah. So walk us through the new structure of the episode. What kind of segments and conversations can listeners expect?
Right. So you're going to talk about, currently what's going on, what types of things are going on in the area, the events, the festivals. We're going to have that segment continuing, so people can kind of, make some plans. This is what's coming down the path. Others is going to be kind of the what shapes our area, right? Like the history, the culture of the place that you mentioned earlier. And having those segments. There'll be times where we discuss some very current and recent things, and there are going to be some times where we tell a more long-form story. The flexibility in the podcast moving forward just is us being able to share the story, but also give perspective to visitors and locals
Yeah.
about what's taking place and what's going to happen and the stories that make this place awesome.
Yeah. And then you said it, the stories, like telling the stories of not just the history, and it's easier to tell the history. It's easy to tell,
Sure,
like on paper, what everything is. But when you actually tell the story of, oh, this is how I feel, or this is how this makes me feel, or that's the main important part, and kind of getting that to the locals, getting that to the visitors is the important part. So that aspect of the set
absolutely.
help out as well.
It's one thing to hear about someplace, right? It's another thing to see it while you hear it, and that tapping into all those, so just give prospective visitors and our new friends and neighbors just a more opportunity to kind of understand what we're saying and kind of see it. Now they can see it visually, or they've been there and they have that picture on the wall somewhere. I mean, these are cool things.
Yeah. So how does this format allow us to highlight more local voices, whether there's residents, business owners, creatives, or community leaders?
Right. So from a creative space, let's jump on that one real quick. So from our artists, we're going to show some of their art. Right. We're going to show those types of atmosphere, and you're going to get to see that particular artist in the flesh, not just hear her voice, his voice, whatever. You're going to see them. Same thing with the storytellers. Like, this place is made up of some great storytellers, right? I've mentioned several of them already, but there's some fantastic ones. When you hear Captain Craig Reeves tell the story of being on the water and shrimping, and that not only is it, his livelihood, and you can hear it in his voice, but it's also what makes this region, rich, right? Like, it's that part of the industry is often forgotten, how we feed people, but it's something that's, you're going to see it in the flesh, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for the change and kind of where it's heading. And as far as like hearing the stories, and then seeing, like, when you see the excitement in someone's eyes when they're telling the story of Beaufort, or they're telling their story about being on the water, or when we have, for instance, we have fishermen, and we have people who fish all the time and on the water, and they light up and they're like, oh, I caught this fish, and
absolutely
this.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. We've always talked about history, culture, and place. How does new format help connect the past, present, and future of the Low Country more clearly?
Right. And so sometimes some things from that past are still tangible today, and some things are not. And when you're telling the story of our past, we want to be able to have those tangible objects, for you to view, but also we want to put you in those locations when the opportunity exists. Yeah. And so that's kind of the guidelines here. So if we can have that aspect of telling the story, we're definitely going to jump into it and have the right people and the right telling the stories, just like we have in the past, but we're going to do it a little differently and showcase it a little bit more visually.
Yeah. And then how does the community impact factor into these changes? Not just attracting visitors, but serving the people who already call this place home.
Yeah, and so we get a lot of feedback from our listeners, and it's really a lot of that feedback that we got from them that helped us shape the decision to kind of go through this. Some people want to see, who maybe have never seen the proper way to shuck oysters. This will give us a format to do that and probably talk about it. People want to talk about what it's like to be at Hunting Island before they come. Now we can showcase that. Here's kind of what that looks like from that standpoint. That is listener feedback, and being able to provide those from a visual standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's a good aspect and good segments into the podcast, and allow us to expand it further than ever before.
Absolutely. Now, I want to make sure that our listeners know, and now our viewers know, that give us ideas of what you want to see from the podcast, but also from the area. Like, is there a story that you want to amplify a little bit more? If is there some feedback is very important for us to make the show even better, but also give people what they're looking for. Yeah,
I agree. Well, Rob, we really appreciate you being on the episode of the Intercoastal Podcast, and thanks for taking the time to walk us through what people can expect for the next season, the changes of the podcast, and where we're heading moving forward.
Absolutely, and can't wait to be back.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Intercoastal Podcast. Don't forget to follow us on social media at visit_BeaufortSC on Instagram, or at BeaufortSC on Facebook. Like, subscribe, and leave a review. And share this episode with anyone who loves the Low Country. Until next time.
This has been another episode of the Intercoastal Podcast, hosted by Daquan Mickens and the team at Visit Beaufort, Port Royal, and the Sea Islands. Produced by Revolt.